seen any of that, but we'll find out soon enough. Whoa, I just got a notification on my phone. What the fuck? Whoa, I just got a notification. Is that my favorite channel? Al parentheses get the mic close parentheses. Uh-oh. What the fuck? Oh god, I'm echoing. Let me kill it. Here we go. Are we about to go?
Welcome back, Dragon Ballers, to Get the Mic. It's been a long time. The only show where your host on the left, Owl,
and your host on the right, Brock,
dissect fiction for its mythological significance, and in particular, Dragon Ball, as we all know. Now, I think you were right about one thing, Brock, but we're
which thing would that be
right now? Nothing. Anyways, I know it's been a while. I know it's been a while since we've been here. We have just had, life things happening. So we've had to take a step back for a while. But we should be producing somewhat, maybe not even consistent, but at least some videos instead of no videos at all. So there,
some is definitely more than none.
Some is more than none. That's right. That's what we like.
Okay. So take your scraps.
Take them.
We're gonna be pretty rusty for this. It's been what, 2 years since we did a Get the Mic Dragon Ball episode, right?
It has been a while, yeah. I mean, I've tried to brush up a little bit, but shoosh, it has been a long time.
Yeah, so some things might look a little bit scuffed.
Some things might not work, but
yeah, this is gonna be. It's gonna be a little bit weird, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna get through this episode.
And we're moving and talking. Look, when we say something, our mouths move now, so that's something cool.
I'm basically a VTuber now.
Yeah, you're basically a VTuber. Well. Anything else before we start? The other things I would say, please like and subscribe if you like what you hear. If you don't like what you hear, don't give us a like. Don't give us a subscribe. We don't want you anyways. But if you like what you hear, or if you just find it interesting, you can disagree. But please do those things and follow our social media on the left here. You can see our Discord, YouTube channel, and Twitter. Anything you want to add, Brock?
No, not really. Just yeah, bear with us. We're kind of getting back in the swing of this kind of process. So I have some ideas of what I want to talk about, but the flow of it, the way that we go from point to point, I anticipate is going to be a little bit janky at first, but I think we'll snap back into it like riding a bike.
Well, we'll find out here in a second. Okay, I just need to get my notes up here. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, the last episode we covered was I think it was called, oh goodness, what was it called? It was 120. It was where he meets Kami. It's called Earth's Guardian Emerges. And in that episode, Goku finally got to meet Kami, who looked like Piccolo. And we talked a little bit about that last time. The Eternal Piccolo. That's what I almost put for the title of this episode. The Eternal Piccolo. And so we kind of pick up right as that leaves off after Goku kind of reconciles that. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started with the episode, everyone. So the first thing we
Titled
see, it's titled The Eternal Dragon Resurrected. So I'm going to skip through some of this. Hopefully it loads past the door. This is not the whole episode, I promise. What is happening? Go there. Rock on. Okay. We're going to skip this. That already happened. So the first thing we see is some fishermen. They work in the ocean, and they're going to see Piccolo Jr. standing in the waves. He uses his power first to get a fish, and then he's going to sink their boat. I only put this part in to see if you had anything to say. I have a couple things to say, but it's not a whole
yeah,
lot.
it's nothing like really that deep, but it does remind me of several things in this episode. Actually, remind me of some stuff early in Z, and it kind of called back to me the whole thing with Raditz, with arriving on Earth and killing the farmer for no reason, just sort of. We'll get into that much later, but this thing, and it's a continuation of what we've been seeing with Piccolo Jr. up until this point, where he is going around and sort of subverting the good, like subverting the natural flow of things. So we had seen him before disrupting a birthday party and destroying it and taking things for himself. And the way that he hunts is sort of the inverse of how Goku had hunted at the beginning of it. And I think this is just a continuation of that, where you see the natural process of these fishermen who they look out at the sun as it's rising, and he sort of inverts this thing that I remember from much earlier on Korin's Tower, where we see Goku looking out at the sun from the railing. They look out at the sun, and then in the sun, there's Piccolo Jr., who just sees them, kills them, and basically gets himself a fish while standing on the water. Almost this Antichrist type move of, you think of like Jesus Christ standing on the water and the sun and all of that. So I think this is just a continuation of his process of subverting or inverting that natural heroic path.
Yeah, I like that. I thought of something similar. Although I think the nature of water has to do with it. So I like that you mentioned Raditz. We're not going to get too into Raditz, not to spoil anything. But Raditz is definitely comes from the heavens, right? Where Piccolo here we can see well, he doesn't come from the sea, but Piccolo, King Piccolo, did come from the sea.
He
Like he
did
was
come
on
from the
the way
sea,
to
yeah.
sea, and so you have the sea representing that depths of chaos, right? And so he's standing on it. He's kind of like you said, being an antichrist in the way that. Oh, never mind. That's just nothing. Stupid Streamlabs. In the way that he's being in between chaos and order, like Goku, but he is using it for evil, and so he also, like you said, subverts the natural order, like the let's see, the bountiful nature of Earth giving towards human beings, and so the destruction of the ship there is just like, I know that you're participating in this holy act, but no good deed goes unpunished, more or less.
Right. He is essentially, in a sense, making a game of them, mocking the natural process for people who are not powerful like he is.
Yeah, and basically iterating that is actually the way. That is like the supreme mode of being, more or less.
It's basically asserting that power uh, is good rather than effort.
Yeah, I mean, we don't really see. I mean, Piccolo. I don't know how much Piccolo actually trains here as a kid. He more like just goes around and like kills people and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely along those lines. I think I think the what you said about him like kind of blotting out the sun is also a good point because he is that dark dark dot in the white paisley right now because for the next few years Earth is going to be in somewhat of a peace state, right? And so he's going to be that dark dot, just like Goku was the white dot in the black paisley before.
Mm, right.
And so yeah, I mean all this lines up to be right having Piccolo Jr. being the Antichrist type figure, and especially in his modus operandi, which is getting avenged for King Piccolo's death.
Yeah. This is very important for the analysis that will come up eventually with Z and Gohan, right? But
Yeah,
we'll get to
definitely.
that, obviously. But this sort of potentiality of he is just as powerful as Goku was as a kid, but this is how he uses his power as a kid, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly, and definitely unlike Goku. Well, in most
Right.
regards. So, I think that's it for old Ma Junior. We'll move
My
on.
junior.
Ma Junior. We'll move on to our next scene, where Goku is back at the lookout and Popo brings out the Eternal Dragon. Last episode, Kami agreed to resurrect the Eternal Dragon for Goku at his request. So Popo brings out the Eternal Dragon, which is a small statue of Shenron. And Kami asks if he can fix it. Popo, that is. And Popo begins to fix the small statue with super glue, explaining to Goku that Kami breathes life into the things that Popo makes. Kami says that he considered leaving Shenron dead so that people would quit their evil ways about the balls, but Goku has encouraged him to allow the balls to remain on Earth. But this is this is a lot to get into right here.
Yeah.
But
I think the first thing is the breathe life thing, right?
no, the first thing is the super glue.
The super glue, okay.
So it's I mean it goes along with the breathing life thing, but the super glue aspect of it, like being able to like re-glue this little statue, is like the let's say, oh gosh, it's kind of hard to articulate. So it's kind of the nature of the universe being able to be fixed by piecing things back together. And I mean, super glue is like it is a joke, but at the same time, it is that same way. Like, can can the universe be like set back into balance more or less? And it can. And its externalization here as a statue of a dragon is kind of echoing that. It's really hard to explain, or it's hard for
Well,
me to
I
articulate
think
what
it'll
I'm
be
trying to say.
easier if we articulate what the eternal dragon is again and then put it back into context, right? So the eternal dragon is the representation of the eternal uh undifferentiated chaos that can be confronted to be that can be used to create any potentiality into what you could imagine, that you could wish. And with the death of Shinron before by the hands of Piccolo, it sort of puts a limiter on the potentiality of Earth itself, meaning that there is a hard stop to what their potential could be, no matter what they could wish. And so Popo, with him representing this sort of persona of emptiness that Goku has been needing to interface with, he is basically, by doing this, showing that this can naturally come back together, that it has a proper place, and that that potentiality can be restored, but only through the he can give the form of it, but the spirit of it needs to be given by Kami. And so it's kind of saying that the pieces will fall into place naturally because things have a place that they belong together, but that doesn't mean necessarily that that without spirit that it's possible. And so he can create the image of the eternal dragon of the potential that so because he's emptiness, he's that void, right?
Hmm.
Arising from the void, the image of what could be is there naturally.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. Is the let's say mechanism by which order in the universe is restored and how it can be pieced back together, even
I
by
kind of think of like
seemingly.
stars
Oh,
moving
okay. I
naturally
got it. I
throughout
got it. I got
space,
it. So,
right?
the reason I'm using this, and the reason I like super glue as the analogy here is that things that seemingly don't seem to go together can actually be put together. I mean, I know it's building here like back to its original form in this little statue of Shenron. But like the little pieces he has, the little clay pieces he has to like remold on there and stuff, right? It's things that like are auxiliary that have to be re-added into the, let's say, marginalized, that have to be re-added into the content for it to be uh, restored. You see what I'm getting at?
So sort of, but I want to give an analysis to the glue itself. Then that it's Popo. That Kami has to ask Popo, "Can you do it?" Right?
Yeah,
It's not Kami that does it. It's Popo that does it,
yeah.
and the way that Popo does it is with the super glue, right?
Well, and yeah, Andy has a little bit. Let's see if I can find that part. I'm gonna put that part up. Let's see. Yeah, will you be able to fix him easily? He gets sat, of course, and there you can see it right there. There's a little bit of clay he has extra in those little tongs there. So it's not just the glue, but glue is part of it. He's gluing the big pieces back together, right? So yeah, give an analysis to the glue as you were saying.
That's what I'm curious about. I think it's just that things have a place that they belong, and that they can naturally fall back into place, and the potentiality can be there again, and that they can come back together. Like the every piece of Shinron still remains, meaning he wasn't destroyed; he was broken apart, and the mechanism that puts it back together is natural. It's through Mr. Popo that he can do it, um, as a representative of that void. What I was saying earlier is I kind of think of like the mechanism of stars moving and aligning in patterns in space, that they do it naturally through gravity and through time, that they create these beautiful patterns. And I kind of think of Shinron like that, where through Mr. Popo he forms back into his shape, right?
Right.
And Mr. Poe as an arbiter of the emptiness from which everything comes, thought, things like that. It comes back together, and he is the source of that glue that holds it together. Like it's not humans, and it's not anything other than it's almost unknown, so to speak. Right? It's the void, as far as you can articulate what the void is.
Well, and that's the mechanism that builds it back, right? But the consistency that takes place, or that it's comprised of, is the only thing I want to add. In that the once the order of the world has been shattered, the introduction of the marginalized has to be added in order to restore the order that once was, and that's what the little clay extra is that he has.
Um, I think that's a good way of putting it. That one thing I want to tie in before we get deep into like the breathe life and stuff like that, because that's going to be a long discussion, is I think before this scene, there's the scene of Yajirobe stealing the Senzu beans from
It's
Korin.
after
Is
this.
it
I
not?
have it next. I have it next. I accidentally
It's after
skipped
this?
it way too far. Yeah,
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
we'll
Um,
talk about it in a second though.
so then now that the form is back where it belongs, so to speak, right? Then the next step is that, and this is in both translations, it's in the dub and the sub, that Kami breathes life, though he doesn't literally do it, right?
Yeah,
But
but
they
they
both
breathe
say
life.
breathe life, and that's important.
Well, yeah, I mean that has to do with the creation, capital C. So, um,
Hmm.
definitely. But we'll get into that more in a second. I mean, let me see. Yeah, so the breathing life into it is very much about creation and about how the breath is the spirit, right? And it's imparting this spirit into the dragon, which is the and you know what I really think Kami brings, and I know this is kind of like not substantiated by what's in the show or anything. Not saying it's not there, it's just not there. Um, Kami imparting the spirit that allows the, let's say, the dragon to exhibit wisdom and allow those wishes to unfold. Because if you just have an earthly dragon, right, that's kind of what like fire breathing dragons are, things like that, like amalgamation of the predator. And without that extra like enlightenment step, right, which we're gonna see in a second, um, Shenron wouldn't be the eternal dragon; he would just be the dragon.
Exactly right. That's the spirit, the inspired, this inspiro is what makes it eternal and makes it a spirit because that's what the eternal dragon is. It's the spirit of the dragon, not just a dragon.
Right, and funny enough, it is the unknown creation of Popo with the known creation power of Kami, right? That
Hmm.
come together to create this, and it's another almost Taoist mix of chaos and order.
Right. You have emptiness, and from that a form arises, and then from Kami it is given time. It becomes temporal and it becomes eternal, right?
Hmm. And yeah, that's exactly eternal chaos that can be confronted to gain wisdom.
Right.
And
It
so,
becomes the idea of it. It's like the dragon as such
yeah,
instead
yeah,
of just being one instantiation. It is, and we'll get into this in just a second too. About how it goes about like regenerating him, right?
yes, we will talk about that. We do have a short intermission, but before that, Kami does say that he considered leaving Shenron dead. I'm curious if you have anything to say about that
Yeah, I mean, I think
specifically.
that part of it is pretty clear. That and you'll have to remind me if you can remember when Piccolo kills the Eternal Dragon. Where is Goku?
Goku is with the Yaj, I believe, at that time.
He's missing, right? He's
Yep.
missing from the picture, and it's only in Goku's
Well, they all think
absence
he's dead.
that yeah,
They all,
exactly. It's believed that he's dead. He's not literally dead, but as far as the idea goes, he's dead. And in the belief that Goku is dead, what the eternal dragon is killed, which we just described as the spirit of the eternal dragon, the spirit of the dragon, right? That is killed by Piccolo, and so that leads to this situation where it means the same thing, right? That in Goku's absence, in the spirit of the hero, then that potentiality needs to be leveled down so that evil can't rule over the earth. But in the presence of the hero, in the return of the hero, then the potentiality of all of humanity can be elevated once again. And that's basically Kami is expressing the inverse of what Piccolo expressed when he killed the Eternal Dragon, right?
right, and
It's that,
it makes it such that we'll talk about this again in a second because at the latter
yeah.
half of the episode is pretty much what the focus is of of the story.
But there's a polarity to it. It's not because this, then this. They're part of the same thing, right? Because
Yeah.
Goku is gone, the eternal dragon then can be brought low and killed and made not a spirit but rather an earthly thing. The stones or the Dragon Balls turn to stones and they're not magical anymore. And then only through the return of Goku and the re-inspiration as an idea, because that's what he is up here in the quote unquote upper world, the return of the idea of the hero also returns the idea of the potential through confronting chaos, right?
Right, and that's it's even an exponential of
Thank
that.
you,
They
Chris
were,
Ombre. Yeah. I think that they were in the process of trying to get back
yeah, but
to
he was
Corrin's
definitely
tower.
gone. They thought he was dead. All that. Oh goodness, say what you just said. I had a thought, and then you. mentioned in a comment.
About on the way back to the tower.
No, it was about.
Well, that the return of the idea of what Goku is, because he's
Oh,
become an
whoa,
idea
yes,
by
I got,
being
I
in the
got,
upper
I got,
world,
I got,
right?
I got. So, I was just gonna say that we're gonna talk about this more later because of
Mhm.
we're gonna have to talk back again about the Red Ribbon Army arc and Goku's original like entrance into all that, because
Yeah,
this will
it's
become
a tangled.
basically an
Yeah,
exponential example of that, and
yeah, it's
so
very tangled, and becomes recursive, right?
yeah. Well, I want to, and I also want to say, I think. Oh, that is exactly what basically we're saying. Like that's what Kami is. That's why Kami's gonna allow the balls to remain. It's not like, oh, Goku uses them for good, so that's fine. It's not that. It's that now there's
Yeah,
a spirit which can cohabitate and contend with um this chaos forever, as far as Kami is concerned. And in fact, we'll already see that Kami's trying to plan for Goku to take his place. So I
yeah,
think we'll see that in this episode, but basically, yeah. And so
yeah. He
now
mentions
that
it.
that's here, he's like, okay, well, now this can be here. Now this potentiality can be here because of Goku existing. If Goku wasn't there,
Mhm.
yeah, I think you're right. I think he would just be like,
And by there, right,
yeah.
it's as an idea.
Hmm. All right, so let's move on to our brief intermission, which we've seen like 6 times now, which is in
Yeah.
Korn's tower. Um, Yajirobe's looking up. Korin comes up and scares him. And there's two big things that happen. Yajirobe here is discovered to be sneaking around with sensu beans, even though he said he hates them because they made him all bloated in the last episode or last few episodes. And the other thing that happens, which is very interesting, is Korin admits that he's a plain old cat. So
Yeah.
I think we'll start off with Yajirobe, right? And here Korin's looking at his stomach and a little skeptical about what it is. So what do you think about Yaj taking these beans?
Well, it's kind of complicated, and I'm gonna say this in a really clunky way because I don't actually have a note for this, so I'm just gonna think out loud. But Yajirobe is this he's a counterpart to Goku, especially in the absence of Krillin, right? So they traveled together up to this point, but there's a point where Yajirobe couldn't go any higher, and this is where he's waiting for Goku. And there's two things first. Number one, him acting like he didn't like the Senzu beans because they made him bloated, meaning that he couldn't indulge in them. What he wants to do is to indulge, but the Senzu beans are, as we discussed a long time ago, a countermeasure to indulgence. They represent what you need rather than what you want. And he's leaning over the back of this railing, looking up, wanting to catch Goku if he falls, right? He's looking out for Goku at this point and storing these Sinzu beans specifically on his stomach, but not in his stomach. And I think those two things are connected, right? That he is essentially he's he is this counterweight that is an embodiment of this potentiality, but is not the spiritual Goku. But what he is doing essentially is he's trying to be prepared for the return, more or less the return of Goku, to make sure that he does his part. That's the best way I can articulate it. Um, but I'm curious what you think of it, because that's as far as I've been able to think about it.
Well, in insofar as the Yaj being I don't want to say a mirror of Goku, but being like a foil to Goku, more or less. We had established, right, that he's very self oriented. He's very by that I mean selfish, and
Mhm.
he's also
In the same
very.
way that Goku is, right?
Yes, especially towards the beginning of Goku's journey. If we think back when Goku was just in nature, right, and his mastery of nature, and that's something that the Yaj has as well. And um, that's the thing, is the Yaj is all earthly, and so the first time he experiences this manna from heaven, right, He gets super bloated on it. Like he gorges himself on it because he's been deprived of it his whole life, and so then it makes him super fat. And then this here is when he doesn't want to admit that that there's more to, and this is something that comes up to Yaj over and over. It's hard for him to admit because of his consistent earthly spirit that there is a vertical axis at all, axis at all. And so like even the thing where he doesn't believe in Korran's tower at first and stuff like that. And so um it's a recurring thing with him, and I think that resistance to it is why he's denying the sensu beans now, because later on he won't really. He'll just chill with them. Like everyone knows that he loves them, right?
Well, also I like the way you put that because that does tie into the second thing, which is Corrin admitting that he's a cat, right? Because that denial of the spiritual element, the vertical element of what Corrin's tower represents, he kind of is a foil to Corrin in that same sense, where he says to Corrin, "Yeah, but at the end of the day, you can't go any higher than me either.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm just a man, but at the end of the day, you're just a cat." And Corrin says, "I'm a cat man." Well, yeah, I'm just a cat.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I know
Because
that's
at the end of
exactly
the
why.
day, he cannot ascend like Goku does. He's
And it
not an
is,
idea at the end of the day.
yeah, it's because I mean, he's not a, what is it? He's not an omnipresent idea, or not even that. It's like a ubiquitous idea. Like Corrin, no, he is both of those things.
Well, he's an embodiment to engage with that doesn't become permeated through the collective unconscious, you could call it, right? Um, and so
Sure, yeah.
because they're having this one-on-one conversation here at the precipice of the higher of the upper world is what they keep calling it in the dub, or not in the dub, sorry, in the sub, it's called the upper world. They never call it that in the dub. They just call it Kami's lookout,
The lookout, yeah.
but I think upper world is way more apt. Um, I think it's kind of just a coming together of these guys that it's like, oh, it's hard to articulate, but it's essentially something along the lines of pointing out right before we see the reinvigoration of a spirit, the limits of embodiment.
Well, let's think about it this way. So Corrin is at the top of Corrin's tower, but I mean before this, before the last few episodes, right? He's been up there, without any connection to the lookout, right, or to the upper world, let's say. And but he's able to see out, right, all across the land of Corrin, pretty far out. Like it's a pretty tall tower. And the thing that he learned, that he teaches Goku, right, is that there are other spirits to map, that you can map onto yours, right? And understanding that is power, and understanding the spirits that people embody is powerful in and of itself. All of that. But that's the thing. It's inter spiritual, right? Where Kami's, let's say, growth is intra spiritual. It's going to allow Goku to grow his own spirit, right, and propagate himself into that. And so that's why Goku takes the power pole up, and this is as far as Korin can go. It's also as far as Yajirobe can go, because he's also an earthly spirit, right? So he can see these things. He can understand, like he can even appreciate the manna from heaven, but he's not going to be able. He's not going through that intra spiritual evolution, if that makes sense.
No, it does, and I think that is why the setup of this scene is that Korin walks up and scares him, and he falls backward in a mirror of the way that Goku caught himself hanging upside down off of the edge of Korin Tower whenever he first came up here. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like pointing the finger at, you're at this point of Goku's spiritual journey, and this is your limit. Right?
Yeah, and by that I mean like it's the upper limit of human, let's say, strictly humanistic, secularistic kind of ideals, right? Can't you
At
can't?
this point
Yeah,
in the story.
and I mean that would be, I would say, the Aj is a pretty secular kind of character up into his introduction with Goku. Like,
I
sure,
think almost represents secularism, right?
yeah, Yeah, basically. He doesn't believe anything. He doesn't believe in anything, right? He's just like, I want my hedonistic pleasures, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but it's a great little like
And then
2 minute
like you
scene.
said, he says it back at Korin, right? And you're just an animal.
Yes, exactly. And you're also that. And he's like, well, Goran's like, yeah, I am. You
And
know?
Korin says to him, "You're never going to be able to ride the Kinto-un," which is to say that you have such an elevated spirit that you transcend the earthly, right? That you are so good that you're of the sky.
And and that your spirit permeates quickly in all directions, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of that's kind of also in with it. But let's go on to our next big part, which is back in the upper world. Kami revives the dragon after it's fixed by Popo by shooting it with a beam of light from his finger. Then
Which he points
Shenron,
up.
which he points up. Then Shenron flies off after floating a little bit above the lookout. He flies off to the Dragon Balls, and Kami explains that Goku's friends can make their wish immediately instead of having to wait the full year. To this, Goku is thrilled and he wants to go down to them, but he has to be reminded that as part of his deal to resurrect the Eternal Dragon, he has to stay and train with Kami. And I think yes, there's actually one thing I forgot to put here. So he has to stay and train with Kami because Piccolo is going to meet him at the tournament, the 23rd Tenkaichi tournament. Goku's like, whoa, Piccolo's alive. And Kami is basically, I mean, he knows Piccolo's alive because of the next thing that happened. So Goku goes off to pee, and then Popo and Kami discuss the dual nature of Kami and Piccolo and how if one dies, the other also dies.
Oh, that's a lot.
I'm going to let you go for a second. I got to take a quick break.
I'll vamp a little bit. There's a lot of different things going on in this sequence. So I'd mentioned earlier that in the sub and not the dub, they refer to the place that Goku is at as the upper world, and we'll see that come back later on with Shinron in the episode. But Goku, I mentioned that he is in this space operating as an idea rather than something earthly. So this is a separation from what we just talked about with Yajirobe being at his limit and being very earthly and talking to Korin about you're just an animal. Goku now is not just an animal. He is an idea. And so everything that he's doing here is that he's moving in the realm of ideas. I think that it's very, very intentional that it specifically is called the upper world. Now, I talked about this with you, Al, before, and I've shown you images of like the little diagram I put together of the Neoplatonic emanation of Korin's tower.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, Gorin's tower,
where it's 4 spheres, right?
The base, yeah, and then you have Baba's, and then you have Kami's.
Right. So Goku is in that realm of ideas, and things emanate down from that idea space, and that is the setup of why it is, for instance, that Goku can't leave here and go down there and see people in the other world until such an instantiation that he can balance back out shows up too, which is Piccolo. And so he needs to remain here as an idea to inspire people in Spiro, right? To breathe spirit into people in the same way that Kami is breathing spirit into the idea of potentiality in the dragon until such a time that it's necessary for him to have an embodiment again. And that's the process of a hero arriving in the world, right? That there's an idea that festers in the minds of people until it manifests through people's embodiment. And that's what Goku has.
One that's been marginalized, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that ties into a lot of different things, right? We had talked about, I think originally, when you look at even the design of Kami's lookout, that it looks like the dragon radar, right? It's the map by which these things are manifested in the world below.
Yeah, and it is like the dragon radar.
And Goku is a part of that now. He is an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why also, for instance, whenever Kami points up and he creates this beam of light, we don't see a physical instantiation of Shinron up here. We see a shadow cast by him, and he's a ball of light that we see floating around, right? We see the effect of him up here, but we don't see him. right? We see an image of him, the shape of him up here, the origin of his sort of pattern. But here, yeah, that's a great spot where you're seeing that shadow being cast. We see the effect, but we don't see him. Not until later when he goes down into the lower world and has a physical instantiation.
Right, that's actually a good way to put it too. Um, and something we haven't really called back to yet, but I think I'm just remembering now, or let's say, wanting to bring it back up, is the, let's say, difficulty it is to breathe up here.
Oh,
Ooh,
am I getting an echo?
let's check
Oh,
this.
damn. Let me.
Let me do.
Okay, I'm lighting up.
Go ahead and say something.
I'm saying something right now.
Is that better? Chat. One
Yeah,
chat.
chat.
Well, I guess we'll just continue.
We'll keep trying.
Uh, was I saying something? What was I saying? Oh yeah. So it's hard to breathe up here in Kami's lookout, and that's because right, it's basically when you're in this area, you're constantly having to instantiate your spirit, right? Um, and so the dragon, right, being up here as an idea but not a physical thing is a great way to kind of explain that in the show. Let me rewind.
Yeah, I think it's a way to delineate the difference between. It's hard symbolically to express the idea
Well,
that.
actually, the physical instantiation is right there, the little dragon. But yeah, he goes up and then
Can you describe the pattern? Is it that you're hearing me echo, or is it that you're hearing Owl echo through me?
that's a good question. Let me check something here. How about this? Get out of the call and join back in.
Ooh, that's one way to do it. I can also pop some headphones in if that's creating it. I don't know what it is.
I don't either. Just try to pop back in.
Yeah, give me one sec.
Meanwhile, yeah, the physical instantiation here of the dragon is, we talked about that. And so once it's given this spirit, it has become also one with the Dragon Balls is another thing.
All right, so I'm echoing. I think that might be on your end then.
You're still echoing? Hold on.
Chrysombra says here, Brock Echo. I
Yeah,
think
but
that's what that means.
I think there's a bit of a lag though, Brock. Let's see, because it looks different now. You were going further into the red, but go ahead and try and say something now.
All right, I'm saying something now.
Yeah, that's still a bit.
I'm gonna try listening to the stream.
Yeah, I should also do that, I guess. Let's see, because it looks different now. You were going further into the red, but go ahead and try and say something now.
All right, I'm saying something now.
Oh, that is really weird. Yeah.
Oh, I sound really tinny. That's weird.
I think I know what it is. Say something real quick.
Something real quick.
All right. I think you were on two sources for some reason, just all of a sudden. Go ahead and say something now. Let's see. We'll check with chat, or we can even listen in
Oh yeah,
on.
that sounds normal now.
Okay. I have no idea why all of a sudden it was like, let me do that. Does it not sound normal?
So I popped the audio on the stream real quick so I could hear myself. Oh yeah, that sounds normal now.
Okay. I have no idea why all of a sudden it was like, let me do that. Does it not sound normal?
Yeah, it's fixed now. Okay, sorry for the delay.
So I have
It
to
That
put
was
was
the audio on the stream real
I
quick
could
to
Yeah,
fix
you
mute
this
said
by
that.
myself.
being a
Yeah.
professional and putting headphones on, but I'm trying not to create a different kind of echo. So anyway,
That was strange though, because it was it was not doing that the whole time.
yeah, it was
Anyways,
very tinny and like reverby.
it's because you were on sudden. All of a sudden, Streamlabs was like, "Well, let's put Brock on this also output channel for no reason."
You got excited about what I was saying. That's all.
It was. I was just wrapping up kind of our ideas there. I did want to relate one thing though, is that the dragon turns into the ball of light, like we see when it comes out of the Dragon Balls, right? So there's an element there that that has to then be combined with the spirit of the dragon, right? Because the Dragon Balls are a part of it as well, and we're gonna see what that looks like here in the second half.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be the second main thing to cover because the first half of this episode is really primarily covering upper world and then it switches to lower world to reiterate what we just talked about.
Yeah, interestingly, in the same manner that the show bears it out. You want to talk about Ludo narrative? There you go.
Oh, yeah.
And let's see a couple other things. So one thing I want to say is, Goku having to pee.
Yeah.
It is. It's funny that he brings this up here because I think this is the last time he does this, like in the non-filler stuff.
Mhm.
It's the last time he pees. And his existence, like how King Piccolo fired off an egg and reincarnated himself and all that. And after all of that, and like saying that you're the only like, um, it happens sometimes when
Give it
Goku
1 second. I think our stream's going down.
gone down. You say,
It keeps like buffering.
yeah, I see it. It's really laggy. What is happening with you, YouTube? Like, um,
Okay, it looks good now. That I was gonna say the exact same thing that you were just saying in case well, I keep seeing the stream just freeze, so I don't know how much of this is
just
actually
let it.
showing up. Was that immediately following Goku being given the information that inevitably Piccolo Jr. is gonna show back up because the spirit of what Piccolo is not actually dead. Uh, Goku goes, "Oh, I have to pee," and
And
then he runs
cannot
off.
be destroyed. But I mean, Goku doesn't know that yet. That's the
Yeah.
whole part about that Kami will talk to with Popo about this in a second, is that they're entwined because of the nature of.
No, Chrysombra, I think we have an upload. Oh, we are down.
So we're back. We're back. Looks good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, him
All right.
having to pee.
Let's roll it back a little bit
Let's roll it
because
back a bit.
what
Yeah.
you're saying is really important.
Go ahead and reiterate it.
Well, basically, Goku is being told by Kami that in 3 years' time, Piccolo Jr. will reprise himself essentially at the World Tournament to kill him, specifically to kill him,
Yep.
and that he has to stay here so that he's strong enough not to be killed by him when that happens. and Goku is shocked and then immediately has to pee and then runs off. And we've talked about this over and over throughout all of Dragon Ball, what it means when Goku feels the need to have to pee, right? When he
Mhm.
was less mature, he would do it just publicly. He would just expose himself. But it's also not just Goku. Whenever a character feels embarrassed, whenever they feel exposed,
Or
and
vulnerable,
whenever
yeah.
there's like a specific thing about needing to be, it has to do with the nakedness of oneself, right? Goku feels naked. His nakedness is exposed to him through that simple fact, and he has to go and relieve himself of that. Um, and that nakedness is essentially that while he defeated Piccolo in a physical instantiation, now he is in the upper world and he needs to contend with the spirit that Piccolo represents rather than just one physical instantiation of him.
Right, because like we were saying, Piccolo's spirit can't be destroyed basically at all without um cosmic damage to the universe, and that's something that Kami will talk about here in a second. But right.
That's a bigger thing to approach later on. But
Right.
this is an embarrassing thing for Goku because it's the sudden realization of essentially what he is now, right? That he has a much larger thing to contend with as a higher level entity than just a physical thing like what Yajirobe is, right?
Right, and that's Yajirobe meeting Goku in the King Piccolo arc is no accident. But also the oh goodness, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something. Oh yeah. So just like we were saying, the spirit of Piccolo is an enduring one, like the and that's why the Kamehameha wave doesn't work on him, right? It's like, oh, evil exists in the world. It's like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
So
truth doesn't get rid of that.
that's true. Yeah, exactly. And so it's something that, yeah, Goku is learning he has to deal with, but he also realizes something else, which that Piccolo is not coming for just him in revenge. He's actually going to the tournament to defile the process by which Goku got here to begin with, which is something that Piccolo was all about too, right? King Piccolo is the one that destroys the dragon, right? Harming the process by which um order chaos can be brought about from order, basically, right? And the
Yeah, yeah.
Tenkaichi Budokai being the number one under the heavens, that all those instantiated lessons that Goku has in him are going to be at risk and could be defiled by Piccolo Jr. if he doesn't succeed. And so all of that goes into it as well.
And as an even bigger thing, I mentioned this earlier about this sort of interesting, this will come back much later, this relation between Piccolo's progeny and the continuation of what he represents with his potential being magnified through that process. It's going to reflect in Gohan eventually, and it has to do with Gohan's relationship with Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z. Naturally, we'll get to that eventually, but there's the first seed of it that we see that Goku has he is going to have to interface with this in a much larger sense than he was possibly able to even comprehend, which is part of that, like, oh, I'm embarrassed, I feel naked
Mm-hmm.
thing that he deals with immediately, right? That
Kind of
this is
hard,
a
yeah.
cosmic thing. It's a time based thing, and it's not just one instantiation, but it's an idea across time.
Yeah, and then here we see at the end, it's Popo telling Kami that if Piccolo dies, he dies, and it's like, oh well, then I mean, what's the solution? How are we gonna? Because King Piccolo had to be killed, so how are we gonna deal with Junior, right? And it sets that up, and
Yeah,
this whole arc is gonna set that up. Basically, is going to really play into that, which I want to get into more later. But we do see the first iterations of it here, and how um the logos can create new ways to do things that weren't, let's say, previously.
we're on
Let's
the
say
precipice of transitioning from like the Old Testament to the New Testament, right?
basically, yes, and that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is yeah, basically. I don't know how better to say it than
it's
that.
it's almost too much, like, to try to articulate. It's so well made and well, constructed
And
that the
just
only
like
thing that you
that,
can say is, like, that's how is Goku
oh
gonna
my god,
reconcile
it's
this?
blowing my
Well,
freaking mind.
we kinda know.
Okay, look, I gotta say this right now. So, much like the New Testament recontextualizes things in the Old Testament, the things we find out in Z recontextualize the things that happened in Dragon Ball,
Yeah.
and it's not there as an accident. Like, I don't know how else to say it besides it's not Toriyama just making it up as he goes along. I guess it's
No,
the
it is the
muse is
muse.
there, and
Yeah,
so
yeah, it's the muse.
that recontextualization is something that so few art pieces can do correctly because it has to be spiritually pure for it to work. And like so much of like the retcons and things that happen, it's not it's not a retcon. Like the lamb that gets slaughtered by Abraham being Christ in the New Testament, being compared to Christ in the New Testament, and basically actually fulfilling that is not a retcon. It's it recontextualizes it, right? And that's what we're gonna see in Z, and that's what's gonna happen a lot with Gohan too, and Piccolo, and King Piccolo, and Goku, basically,
And Chi-Chi and the
and
final
all
arc of
that.
this
Yeah,
and everything. Yeah.
everything it has, and everything. That's what this story is about. Everything, by the way, it's it's not about fighting. It's not about
No.
martial arts, really. It's about everything.
It's about the cosmic destiny of mankind.
It literally is, though. It literally is. And that's the thing that just blows my
Uh,
mind all the time. So, um, let's continue. So we have a short little stinger, whatever, and then we see Kame House. And back at Kame House, the gang enjoy their regular antics. Bulma goes to her panty drawer and sees the capsule with the fallen members of the Dragon crew inside. And suddenly, the Dragon Balls are restored. They gather them to make the wish, and Shenron tells them that Goku requested for him to be revived by Kami, and Kami gave Goku what he wanted. He also tells them that Goku will not be coming back because he's training with Kami in the upper world. Bulma starts to wish so that she can get Krillin, Roshi, and Chaozu back to life. But Yamcha steps in and declares that they cannot abandon those innocent people that were killed by Piccolo. Shenron obliges to their wish, and all the people who are killed by Piccolo and his minions are revived. Roshi tells them that Goku is training under Kami, which means he's past the old hermit in all metrics by comparison. And the gang are then encouraged by this and vow to train even harder. Meanwhile, Roshi gets up to some mischief by wanting to, I think, Pafu with Bulma. I think this is the last time he asks it
I
because
mean, in English, he asks for a big kissy smoochy.
great. I think he does the thing. I don't know. We're gonna have to find out in a second. But yeah. So that's basically what we see in this penultimate scene of the episode.
Hmm.
So there's some here, but a lot of it is reaffirming what we were just talking about, right?
There's a decent amount here that I want to point to. So, um, number one, the the setup of who sees that the Dragon Balls have returned, right? That Yamcha has one of them, Bulma has the rest of them, and they both see at the same time that the potential has been returned, that the magic has been returned to the Dragon Balls. Um, there's several things about this scene that call back to the first season of Dragon Ball, right? That it has to be Bulma and Yamcha, right? Because of what I just said about the resolution of this whole situation having to do with Chi Chi. But we'll get to that later on. But I think it's very necessary that it is Bulma and Yamcha and their assessments of Piccolo in this scene, uh, and not necessarily like Tien or Launch or any of the other animalistic characters, right?
Sure.
I was curious what you thought about the fact that it's specifically like Bulma goes into her underwear drawer and that's where she's been keeping the three of them in sort of cold storage.
Well, I think that goes back to the first season, what we were saying, and something that she's come to really value. I think that's why she puts them there because, I mean, even though Roshi's kind of a creep to her and all that, like she does care about them. In I would say probably especially Krillin, and so she puts them with her most prized treasure, which is not her capsules, it's not her inventions, it's her modesty, and so she put that's why she
Exactly. Yeah. I
that's what
think
I
that
would say.
that they are synonymous with her ability to have the concept of modesty, right?
Yeah.
That there are three
Especially
things
Roshi.
there.
Like, even though, like I
Yeah.
said, Roshi's a creature is like, but he enabled her to appreciate it.
He taught her that she needed it in the first place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That her original interaction with Roshi was being shown that she was lacking in it, and that now she keeps him close with it, right? In her underwear drawer. It's almost like there's a ritual that she's doing where she's going and stepping over there and she's opens it up and it's systematic. It's a ritual because she has this drawer of all of these laid out. And like the process of putting them on, let's say, is part of who she is now. And part of that is the memory that she has, the spirit of, let's say, Master Roshi and Krillin by extension of that, right?
Hmm.
And then also Chaozu is part of that because he represents some of these elements and character development for Tien. Not necessarily the same thing for as for Bulma, but he's integral to that for him as well, to his own morality, let's say.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Baze Mitchell? Thanks
Yeah,
for coming
Baze.
in.
Well, or we'll read your comment here. It says, "I found your channel like a year ago and binged everything. Didn't y'all were doing this again? I think it means I didn't know y'all were doing this again.
Yeah, we didn't
Um,
either.
we didn't really either. Here's what I guess I don't want to interrupt the analysis. Actually, we'll continue this and we'll talk about that.
We'll talk
Um,
a little bit about it later, but yeah,
yeah,
thanks for showing up.
definitely, man. Glad to have you here. So I totally agree, and I think that does say a lot. I also think it says a lot that Yamcha's holding on to hope here, right? Um, it is almost the job of the immature masculine to always be that one, right? Like the Luke Skywalker looking off into the dual sunset, right? And
Mhm.
so we see that while everyone else, like the other Dragon Balls, are just sitting around, Yamcha has one still in his hand, right?
It's he's like the watcher on the rim, right? He's being vigilant. He's watching for the return of what Shinron is, right? He knows there's something wrong, but that someday it's going to be set right again. So he just stares at it, he gazes into it and holds on to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, they're the ones that both discover that it's back because as we established in that first arc, the joining of the feminine and masculine is a divine act. And so it kind of echoes out that divinity, right? That's divine, and now these two people that see it first, right? Because they have that spiritual insight. So like we were talking about with the vertical alignment, it's because they have that spiritual growth that they're able to do that.
And not only that, and this is going to sound crazy, but all of Dragon Ball keeps coming back to this joining of masculine and feminine. And the joining of it that we see played out symbolically in the scene is that Yamcha has one and Bulma has many, right? It's the
Yeah.
joining of the one, which is the masculine, which is the singular purpose, and then the many, which is the potentiality. And so he sees the one, she sees the many, then they come back together, and then bam,
And then they
Shinron is
do
brought back into the world.
the same thing with their speech, right?
Yep.
Almost inverted in a way though, because it is she's wishing for the few and he steps in to wish for the many, right?
Which basically
Which
reflects what the end of season one was, right?
yes,
That they saw
yes.
each other.
And that's right, because the let's say the masculine force can then redeem the many, right? And so
But the nature of the feminine, which is very compassionate, can find the value in those that are loved and lost, right? So it
Yeah.
kind of crosses and then spreads back out to redeem everybody and bring them back from what Piccolo was. It's
Which, speaking of
kind of
redeeming
amazing.
everybody, is what we have to get back to with Goku coming in the beginning. The first time he uses the Dragon Balls, which is when he revives Bora, when he decides first that the earthly father is something worth redeeming, and then he goes on the quest to do it. Right, that is the classical. It's a classical myth, right? To go on into the underworld, meet the father, and therefore redeem the spirit of the father on earth. But then
Yeah.
Dragon Ball's like, we're not done. We got to keep going. And it's like, what's the next step of that, right? And so it's not just the redemption of the father, because it is the redemption of Roshi, but it's the redemption of Roshi's master, right? The spiritual father of Roshi. It's also the redemption of the martial artists, which we're going to see in a second, which represent that spirit of, let's say, um, disciplined growth, disciplined spiritual growth. And so,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, so all of that is to say he's reviving even ideas now. It's not just the idea of the spiritual father, but it's the idea of the spiritual father and the ideas of the spiritual father, but also Krillin's symbolic nature being that which uh, adopts these good traits and is open and willing to adopt the traits of the logos and try to emulate and appreciate that, right? He thinks that that's a spirit that would also be worthy of redeeming. And then all of the martial artists, like we said, even those that like they don't get along with, it doesn't matter, because the martial arts, even though I said earlier the show's about everything, like martial arts is the vehicle by which they say that. And so the martial arts that we see, the martial artists that are revived, all represent that. First of all, their willingness to subjugate themselves to heaven, right? They all participate in the Tenkai Chibudokai. And the, like we said, the discipline, self improvement that we see from that is also a spirit that Goku redeems here. And it's all Goku, basically. And so it's just, and obviously Roshi, not to say, because Roshi is a step already above Bora, but Dragon Ball was like, we're not just gonna do like Roshi next, we're not gonna go earthly father to spiritual father. We're going earthly father to all these ideas and spirits which were under assault by King Piccolo. But go ahead.
Well, also, this is a small thing, but there's a moment when they're resurrected, where the three of them are resurrected, where first we see Krillin sit up, and then Launch hits him on the head. Then we see Roshi sit up, and then he rubs the back of his head where Krillin just got hit.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of incredible. I think it's a reflection of what I've been saying throughout the analysis,
Oh
which is
definitely, yeah. That
that
he
Krillin is this extension of Roshi, that he's like a tiny Roshi that was imparted to Goku, you know?
mhm.
And and then after that, of course, Chatsu comes up as well. And I just that stood out to me a lot, because it's like you can sit here and say that all you want, but it's encoded into the way they animated the storyboards for this, that they are that they are one, you know?
Mhm.
That it's no.
It's happened so much that it can't just be like a coincidence every time.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence that the whole Piccolo thing is kicked off by Krillin being killed by the effects of Piccolo, by his instantiation outside of himself, and then Roshi is killed by Piccolo himself. Like,
Right.
they're two halves of the same coin,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, the
And so this is
propensity.
pointing to that for you, to go, "Hey, look, these guys are still two of one. They're both two parts of a thing that Goku just re-inspired." So we talked about earlier
Right.
the breathing life into the dragon and inspiring people, and you'd said once this happens, all of a sudden, all the fighters are inspired to try twice as hard for the tournament, right?
Yes, yes.
That's that inspiration, the spirit, right? He inspires them through Shinron because spirit is breathed into Shinron because of Goku. And because of Goku, all of these people see their potential raise whenever they come back,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. And by doing so, he raises the human spirit. There it is. There it is. What you were just saying. What I was gonna say though is, yeah, and it's something I didn't just mention, which I should have, is that Krillin's redemption here by Goku and revival is it's highlighted by what you were saying about his parallels with Roshi, especially because um like I was saying, the first is the earthly fathers. Think of that as like the middle ground. And then you have the potential spiritual father, which is like Krillin trying to be like Roshi, right? And then you
Mhm.
have the instantiation of the spiritual father, which is Roshi. So you have those two as well as everything in between, which is all of these martial artists, basically. And so it's not everyone yet. That hasn't happened yet. We're gonna have to see later on how Goku can manage that. But for now, it is he is expanding, let's say, his powers of redemption, which I would say is Goku's greatest power.
Yeah, it's like the modes of being by which people realize their own potential has been laid low and then brought back into the world through this process of Goku being an idea that emanates down from this upper sphere down back into the
Mm-hmm.
world, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Shenron is doing when he flies down. And so, let's see. Yeah, you're right. We said they vow to train harder. The last thing that we see before we kind of do our outro is that Roshi. What does he do? I gotta see it now.
Oh, of
He
course.
does say too. He does say too that Goku is like way stronger than him now, which makes sense because if he's able to redeem the spirit of the father, then or the spiritual father, I should say, then obviously he's going to to be stronger than him, or let's say
Yeah,
a more
basically Roshi's
instantiated
realizing
spirit.
that
Yeah.
Goku is worthy of emulation now, right? That
Yes.
now he's the
Yes.
master.
Right.
And that it's interesting because I wanted to point out here, I mentioned it earlier, but in the sub they're calling it the upper world, and in the dub they're just calling it Kami's Lookout. And so there's this moment when they ask Shinron, what's going on, like what's the deal with Goku, and Shinron says Goku is in the upper world, and everyone's like, oh my god, right? In sort of western terminology, it's like he's in heaven, like Goku's training in heaven is what he tells them. And whereas here they're like, well, he's training with Kami. And of course, Kami is like the Holy Spirit, right? He's like the spirit that creates inspiration. But it's all the same thing. But
Hmm.
it's important that we call it the upper world because it's part of that whole cosmic picture. And that it's expressed to them through Shinron that Goku is part of the upper world now, and that he's a
Yes.
messenger of the upper world.
Well, that he's integrating, right? His his actions in defeating King Piccolo, right, have reverberated in the upper world, and now he is initiating himself in that. And so the next time we see him, he's gonna be a little different, except we have some filler. So, you know,
Yeah, but the point is that it's about time that you could think of it as a hypothetical that across a long period of time, in a Dark Souls almost sense, that all of these ways of being would come back because of the memory of what Goku had done, and that these are
hmm
all representations of a way of being that is good, and that eventually he created an inevitability that this world would be back to where it was before, inspired as it was.
yes,
And that'll come back a little bit later because of what happens. I'm not going to spoil it now, but what happens immediately when Piccolo comes back onto the scene,
and
because it's
that's why
about
you should
time.
link the fire, everyone.
Yes.
Oh man. So there is something I do want to say about Roshi. First of all, he does ask for the Pafu Pafu. Um one thing, and he says for old time's sake, right? Like hearkening back to that, right? And Bulma just gives him this glare where she basically like she makes him back off, and he apologizes. Which is, it's wild how far their relationship has come, because I think it goes into what we were saying about her keeping Roshi in her underwear drawer.
Yeah, that her modesty has been elevated, let's say, to his level.
Yes.
Not that he's been
He has
elevated to
made
the level of
his
modesty.
interactions with her have made her a better person, a better woman, a better instantiation of the feminine. So,
And then he, of course, he's like, "In my absence, have you become weaker in
yes,
spirit?" And he's
yeah,
just like, "Oh, no."
and it was good. I think it was a pleasant surprise for him, and it's like, not Roshi doesn't articulate that, but that is articulated through what you're seeing. So let's see. The last thing we see, Goku is sitting in the upper world, attempting to, quote, temper his spirit, while the rest of the gang train on Roshi's island. I think we're going to talk about the. Oh, wow. I think we're going to talk about the stone lesson next time, because that's when we're going to see a lot more of it. Unless you have something to say about it now, because that's all they really say about it. I think it'd be better
The
if we had
stone
more
lesson?
content. So basically, here, Popo's telling him he has to sit super still. And then in the next episode, he's like, you have to sit like a stone.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, the name of the episode after this one, of course, is Faster Than Lightning, right?
Yes.
Which is kind of an inverse of that,
Yeah.
but that'll be explained when we talk about that
Yeah,
episode,
I
how
think
that's
we just
kind of
need
the
more
same thing.
content for that. I think
Yeah.
we'll pass on here.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the gang, they train on Roshi's Island for the tournament. And I don't think there's much else. I think that's pretty. Oh, thanks Goku. There is something Krillin says, and he can't wait for the next tournament. Now, I think that's kind of capitalizing it there. Let's say putting an exclamation point on Krillin's character, where he admires and appreciates now Goku in such a way that he didn't before. Let's say that he didn't look up to him in the same way that he does now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's very simplistic at the end here, just to show like everyone has an appreciation, and also through their appreciation they're inspired and they train harder and all of those things. So it's I think it's pretty apt.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, so now we can talk about some of this stuff. Well, first, I kind of want to summarize the episode. So basically, this episode is all about the spiritual instantiation of the Eternal Dragon, its relationship with Goku, and how Goku can mediate and be, yeah, mediate is the best say, or let's say intercess with these cosmic forces on behalf of the good of everyone, right? And that echoes out in his redemption of everyone as they all get revived by the Eternal Dragon. Yeah, I guess that's it for my summary. It's my
Yeah,
short summary.
it's kind of funny because this episode, it's taken us 2 years to put it out, but it's very necessary to cap off the last little arc that we were talking about, because following this there's a little mini arc of what people would normally call filler episodes, but they are symbolic, and they are, I don't want to say they're just 100% necessary, but they do a good job of sort of extrapolating and articulating what the ideas are that are going to lead into this final confrontation at the Tenkaichi tournament. But yeah, this episode is a summary of why it was so important for Goku to be able to, at least in the physical sense, defeat King Piccolo the way that he did.
Yes, and how it's an expansion beyond what the human spirit has even been able to achieve up until this point. But yeah, so I think now we can get into this. So we were talking about Bays there. I want to read his next chat here.
Hmm.
He said, I'm a dirt poor Robbins fan. Peugeot is great as well. His retelling of fairy tales is amazing. at sign.
Yeah, I agree. I have the first 2 of his fairy tale books. I have, his Jack and the Giants and his, the Rapunzel one, I believe. I think those are the 2 that I have. Let me grab them off my shelf, actually.
We also have Ryman '06. Uh, what up?
Ooh, I said Rapunzel, I meant Snow White.
Yeah,
I
you
have,
did. I saw your Snow White one too. So
yeah, I have the Snow White one and the Jack one. I don't have the Rapunzel one yet, but I think that I think he's brilliant. I think his analysis of symbolism is really influential on the way that I look at stuff.
we were also going to say some other things, but I don't remember what they were.
But yeah, thank you so much. We didn't really know what to expect, just kind of going live for the first time in a couple of years about this stuff. So the fact that and of course, Chris Sombra, friend of the channel, friend IRL, thank you so much
Number
for showing up
one
and chatting with
fan,
us.
according to this chat. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, number one fan IRL. Um, you know, thanks. It is, if there's anything that's gonna get us to keep on doing this and finish this out, it's the fact that anyone is listening and wanting to interface with it. And, yeah, the fact that anyone who's a fan of Peterson or Pajot wants to hear this is very inspiring to me, at least.
It's true, and that's actually bleeds me into what I was going to talk about. So, Bays originally said that he didn't know that we were still doing this. He also said that he thought it was pre-recorded. We had released some pre-recorded episodes before. I think that's probably not going to happen as much. I prefer doing it this way. I think
It's
because
better this way.
I don't know. I don't really like it on a schedule. Um, then I wanted to say what happened is over the past maybe 6 months or so, I've gotten a couple of comments and messages that were like, hey, when's the next episode coming out? I watched some episodes, now I want to see more, etc. And it was not very many, but it didn't really matter. Like that, it was such that it was like, hey, like any one person wants to hear this, so we should link up again. And we kind of having been going back and forth in the summer because we've both been super busy. But we finally made it work, and I'm hoping that we can continue. I don't know what
Yeah.
Queen of Night is, Baze.
Are you talking about the night blooming, or actually, no. You talking about the play? The, whenever I'm looking it up, because I don't know anything about it, but talking about, like, the magic flute, um, because I am also not familiar with Queen of Night.
Mozart's opera. I don't think I've seen it. Oh man, it's got music. It's gonna really Brock is gonna go wild
I
because
like
that's
music.
that's another that's another element that I mean is in Dragon Ball. I don't want to say it's not in Dragon Ball, but there's some music that's really well integrated is what I'll say.
Kinda wild, actually, how
Sometimes it's really
integrated
wild. Yeah.
some of that is.
Yeah. I mean, it's why music is it's ubiquitous, let's say.
It's patterns.
Yeah. So, I think that wraps us up here. Unless you have anything else you wanna get into real quick towards the end.
No, not necessarily. I think that we had a little bit of technical stuff, but overall, I think that like I said, it was like getting back on a bike. Once we kinda got in the groove of it, it was like, yeah. It's just so exciting to talk about Dragon Ball sometimes because it is so, oh, okay. Queen of Night is a short film by Dirt Poor Robins. Pajot helped with it. I don't know that much about it, but I've kinda been out of the sphere for a little bit, hence me not doing this either. I'll look it up. I'll learn about it, and then, maybe. I don't know. I don't know much about it at
And
all,
it'll make
but
sure
it's
Baze
interesting
comes
for
to the
sure.
next live stream and you can answer a question about it. There you go.
Uh, but what I was gonna say is just essentially that, yeah, it's really exciting sometimes to talk about Dragon Ball because we don't really have a script for these episodes. We just sit down, hence the name Get the Mic. We just start talking and we kind of figure out where the conversation goes about it. And it's just because of how pure Dragon Ball is that the conversation can even be fruitful, right? Otherwise, we would need to have some pre-scripted thing where it's like we're going to talk about this and this and this and this and this, but it comes up naturally when you talk about Dragon Ball, and we're discovering how deep it is in real time as we talk to each other. Which is why I said I think it's better live because you're kind of put on the spot to own your thoughts in real time, and you say what you believe instead of thinking about what you're going to say and wanting to edit yourself. And so, yeah, it's refreshing. It's refreshing to jump back into it and find that it's still, well, inspiring. No pun intended, but it does inspire you to want to engage.
For sure, for sure. I don't really have anything else better to say than that. I'm so thrilled that there are people that want to watch and engage with these ideas. All I really want is like I saw this my analysis years ago, like is wild before I even read Maps of Meaning. I started trying to put this together, which Maps of Meaning really helped with. Let me say, but I've just wanted people to realize like the show is like good, like capital G good. It transcends cultural barriers. It's super symbolic and mythological, and it's about everything and just all the stuff that we think about it instead of it being pigeonholed into it's a shonen manga and all this and like I really don't like that appeal to like it's this certain genre. Is there a term for that? I imagine something in music might have that like genreification, not gentrification, but I don't know. Is there a term for that, Brock?
I mean, it's essentially,
It's almost gatekeepy, you know?
yeah, there's this thing where people they want to rule over something. They want to give it a name, and whenever they give it a category or a name or a description, it's like beneath them. And to me, that is uh that is the epitome of why people don't understand Dragon Ball. They want to categorize it as a thing and then put it in like a shelf and say that it is a thing that they have completely understood by giving it a category and giving it a name. And that is not true. Like I don't think that I've ever seen anybody fully understand Dragon Ball. Even us, like I don't think we even fully understand Dragon Ball until we've willed it out and talked it through. And it is a hubristic thing that people do with Dragon Ball, and it's symbolic of the way that they move in the world and that they denigrate the spirit of the father because Dragon Ball created so much that they enjoy, and they have no respect for the fact that this is the progenitor of the genres of entertainment that they like.
Correct. And Dragon Ball is S tier plus. Not in manga, not in an anime, not in any genre. Like it's just S tier.
Yeah,
That's
it
it.
takes a certain level of respect to sit down and say, you know what, I'm gonna look at this thing and try to figure it out, and I don't know what it is, and it's gonna teach me something. And that's what I love about Dragon Ball is I can do that, and it teaches me something. It's not just like I stare at it and it's this like vacuous
Yeah,
thing
you
where I
have to
just am
actively watch it though.
entertained.
If you if
Yeah,
you just like sit back and like, you know, you're couch locked while it's happening in front of you, to use one of my phrases, then you're not going to really appreciate it. Which I don't want to like accuse people of doing that. I'm not trying to say that. Um
I do. I think
but
a
at the
lot of
same
people do
but at the
exactly that.
same time I think that people possibly because of the way it's been typecast, like Bay says, that that's how they think it's supposed to be seen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the form of or it's what it's for. What it's for is what its purpose is, or what its effect is what its purpose is, right? And so for many people, what it is for them is that it's entertainment, and so then they think it was created for entertainment because it entertains them. And I mean, that's what it was for me. This whole process was kicked off by me saying that that's what I thought. I was wrong. I thought that it was simplistic and it was entertainment, and I just had nostalgia for it, and that's why I seem to keep on wanting to come back to it. Um, and I think a lot of people for them, that's kind of how the world is. There's nothing that really transcends that. We yearn for the things that we liked when we were younger, and that's the best it gets. But I think that that's a misnomer. I think that it limits the way that you see the world. Uh, and not everything is like Dragon Ball. Obviously, people have nostalgia for things that don't have something to say about being itself. But Dragon Ball itself has been so typecast, has been so genre cast into being this simplistic thing that has nothing to say, that it's unbelievable to me, to be honest. The discourse around it is so vacuous that it is infuriating.
And thus, I was very encouraged when some people were interested to hear more of what I think is a actual thorough analysis, even if we get things wrong. Like, we're not trying to say we're the best, but no one else is doing anything, so we can't just not do anything.
You can't just not try, right? Like, somebody has to try.
Yeah, and I think, well, Peterson said it. Opportunity lurks where responsibility's been abdicated. I think the responsibility of analyzing Dragon Ball's definitely been abdicated. Analyzing in any, let's say, symbolic or cosmic way. Sure, there's been an analysis of, cultural and traditional, like Easter eggs and things like that, and oh, it's based on Journey to the West, etc.
References.
References, yeah. Um, let's say, yeah, yeah, references, and so, I just don't think anyone's doing it. So I think people wanting to hear it is very encouraging. And that's why we're here. That's why we're so back. And I think that brings us towards the end. So we're going to go
Yeah.
ahead and sign off, I believe. Please like and subscribe if you liked what you heard. This has been Dragon Ball episode 126, The Eternal Dragon Resurrected. I've been your host on the left, Owl.
I've been your host on the right, Brock.
We hope you guys have a good night.